everyone, this is Melissa Stinson with Two Peas in a Bucket, and I'm here today to share my first contribution to Two Peas' 2013 video series on Project Life. Once a month, you'll see me rotate with one of the other garden girls to share with you how we assemble our Project Life layouts and also go in depth maybe on parts of our process. Today, what I would like to do is walk you through my 2012 album, or at least the second volume of it, which is this album right here. And then I will assemble one of my final, well, not quite final, and I'll get to that in a little bit, layouts for 2012. I'm going to share my philosophy, process, and organization. And when I say my process, I'm not telling you how you have to do your project life. Absolutely not. It's a very personal thing. Some people like more levels of embellishment. Some people like less. Some people make a two-page spread every week. Some people do one side of a two-page spread, and I'll show you that. Like they may just use one side of this per month. It just depends on what rhythm works for you. So let me go ahead and flip through this album while I chat with you about the process. I use American Crafts 3-ring 12x12 binders for my Project Life, and I have been for the last, well, basically since it came out, using this camera print album from Amy Tan's sketchbook line as my Project Life albums. I did mention this was volume 2. 2012 is actually going to have about 2.5 binders for it. I don't mind having kind of a lumpy, more than one binder Project Life. I know some people like to make sure that it all fits in one volume, and if that's you, then just make sure that you're not including a lot of extra inserts and a lot of extra embellishments, because even if you're just putting a label in every week, if you stack up 52 labels on top of each other, eventually they start to add some depth to your album. So just some things to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and get started on flipping through this. This one actually starts in April, and it goes through, I believe, part of September. And a little bit about me while I walk you through this. I am in my early 30s. I'm married. I don't have kids, though you're going to see my nieces, my nephews, and some younger cousins. In fact, there's my niece appearing in my album from time to time. I work full-time. I'm a software engineer. I work for a small research firm. My husband is a full-time student, and so we're kind of in the same boat as a lot of people who I've seen post on the message boards saying that they don't think that they have enough to fill their project life because they're always at work, and when they get home, it's just chores and laundry. And since we both basically have full-time jobs, I'm in that same boat with you, but I do find plenty to add to my album, even without kids, even with working all the time. And so hopefully I can inspire some of you who think that maybe you don't have enough to fill the book. I did mention that I'm an engineer, so I'm very process-oriented in all of my scrapbooking and not just in Project Life. I say process, and a lot of you may start to turn off at that. It's not a negative thing. For me, the process just breaks the creation of these pages down into discrete steps so that when I have those 15-minute blocks of time, I can sit down and say edit photos, or I can go ahead and decide where on my layout I'm going to place photos, or put papers. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself with that. We're going to talk about that all in a little while. But just that's what I mean when I say process. I take a non-365 approach to Project Life, meaning that I don't do a photo a day. I did a photo a day in 2009, and then I tried it again in 2011 after taking 2010 off. And I got to tell you, I was kind of miserable trying to do 365 photos in a year, trying to do a photo a day anyway. There are some days that I take 0 photos. There are some days that I take a ton. I may go through a busy week at work where I don't get home until late and there's really not anything to take a picture of, but then on the weekend I take a ton. And so I don't mind having that weekend be most of my spread. It's kind of representative of my life that way. I try to keep, like I said, this process as close to my regular scrapbooking process as possible. And that means I edit and I print all of my photos at the same time. That's my least favorite part of scrapbooking. I edit both Project Life and my regular photos at the same time. I'm not going to go into depth on that today, but I am planning, I think in February, I may have to put it off, that I'm going to do a little bit of basic photo editing for both regular scrapbooking and Project Life, and just some really, really easy, simple tweaks that you can make to bring out the colors in your photographs. I purposely scrap several weeks behind in Project Life. I don't worry about being caught up. The reason I do that is because it allows me to send my photos off to be printed in pretty large batches. Instead of having to run to Sam's or to the developer every week to get just that week's batch of photos, I can send off 6 or 8 weeks at a time, and sometimes more, sometimes less, and get them all back at one time. It allows me to take advantage of sales on photo processing, and it lets me to flip through the photos that I have available to scrap, and I'll show you my staging binder here in just a little bit, to choose the ones that work best with the papers that I'm wanting to use at the time. A lot of times my scrapbooking is driven by what kind of papers and products I'm kind of inspired to play with at the time. So for both Project Life and my regular scrapbooking, I keep a lot of photos printed so that I can flip through and say, oh, these photos that I knew I already wanted to scrap, I have the story behind them, work with these papers, so let's go with that. For instance, this particular week uses October Afternoon's Woodland Park collection and a few other things. A lot of these photos are from the Botanical Garden, so that worked. Oh, that one's not. It worked pretty well together. So that's what I mean about letting the products inspire which photos I choose to use at the time. I do use regular scrapbooking supplies instead of a kit, or a Project Life kit. I tried the Project Life kit approach in 2011, and in June I had gotten so bored with using the same supplies over and over that I just stopped. I'm still catching up on that 2011 album. Every once in a while I'll go back and pick up one of those weeks that I missed, and that's why you only see me up through September, and there's a few more finished layouts over in the staging album. In this album, I strive to complete one layout a week in Project Life, whether it's in this album or in my 2011 or now in my 2013. But I don't really, it's not really a rigid rule for me to do one a week. Some weeks I'll do 5, and some weeks I will do 0. It depends on if I feel like working on this album. Do I have any photos back from the developer for it? I'm very, very loose with that. I try not to make it a chore. Alright, so I'm going to go now and pick up the staging binder I've mentioned a couple of times and show you how I organize things now that you understand my process. And I will go do that and be back in just a minute. Okay, I'm back, and I have my Project Life staging binder here with me. All this is another 12 by 12 American Crafts 3-ring binder. I use the plain black ones like this for my regular scrapbook layouts, and since I usually have a couple extra on hand, I just grabbed one of these when I need something to organize my Project Life pages to scrap instead of buying something new. Eventually, you know, if I actually finish all of these pages, I can use this for regular layouts. I also store divided page protectors and plain page protectors in albums too. It's a great little organizational tip. So this one is a bit thick right now because I just went through in the week between Christmas and New Year and added in all the divided page protectors, and I only use design A. It just helps me to organize everything just to use one design for every week. I use different designs for different inserts. But I went ahead and put all of the page protectors for 2013 in. Up front, there are some 2012 stragglers waiting to be finished, and in the back, there are a few 2011 ones that I still want to work on. That's what's in here. I'll go ahead and open it up so you can see inside. These completed layouts need to be moved over to another 2012 album. I mentioned it was going to be 2.5 volumes. I just haven't started the 3rd volume yet. And by the way, since that 3rd volume is only going to take up about half a binder, I'm just carrying on right into 2013 in that same binder. It will keep me from wasting half a binder, you know, with some good binder ring space still left in it. It'll keep me from having half empty binders on my shelf. And it'll eliminate that pesky cover page problem and the split week problem where 2012 and 2013 were in the same week. So that's going to be my solution for that. I have a very, very few layouts left in here that I need to finish up that I have photos printed for. When I get photos back from the developer, I separate them out by week and put each week's inside of this is a plain 8.5 by 11 page protector from the office supply store. I put it in there along with any memorabilia from the week, and a lot of times the memorabilia for the week will stay right in this page protector, and I don't really incorporate it all that much into my actual, in the spreads and Design A page protectors. It just doesn't work for me. I tend to have more photos in that. If I have a week that's light on photos, you'll see me stick something in a pocket just to fill it up. Every week I also fill out one of these. This is a Project Life planning sheet that Marcy Penner put together and shared for free last year on her blog. I'll try to link it up in the class notes. And it has a space for all the 4x6 and 4x3 spots. And as I'm going through and deciding what photos I'm going to put in, I just mark off that I filled this spot with a 4x3, I filled this spot with a 3x3, and there'll be some journaling. I don't really keep very detailed notes on what I'm going to put where, just so I make sure that I print enough photos but not too many for the week. And when they come back from the developer, they look like this. I'll have a variety of sizes. I do plan in one of my lessons to show you how to print in all these different sizes. And they're not even cut apart yet. I'll do that when I start scrapping, a few 4x6s at the end. And so that's how everything gets organized when it comes in. And then all of these, of course, need to move over into my 2012 album. For 2013, my planning process is a little bit different. I'm using Marcy's new planning sheets, and I went ahead and printed out for the entire year. She's got sections where you can write down notes for each day, as well as the planning sheet for where your photos go. I made a mistake when I printed these out and then punched them. I punched the wrong side of this one inadvertently. Since I plan on throwing these away after I scrap, the layout for this week, I didn't worry about it. I just went back and punched the other side. So if you're wondering why there's an extra hole on this side, it's because I goofed up. So whenever I get the photos back for this week, I will simply take those pages out of this binder, put them with the photos they go with, and slide them into an 8.5 by 11 page protector along with any memorabilia between the pages that they go with for that week. When I said that I prepped my 2013 pages, I want to flip through and show you that. I went ahead and labeled week 1 and the date, and the week number and the date, just on a post-it note on the corner. I find that when I get to about March or April, it starts to be really hard to remember which week number I'm on and which dates go with it. So I went ahead and just marked that for the entire year, just to make my life a little bit easier. These will also get thrown away. But it lets me organize memorabilia. Say I had a receipt or something come in or a piece of mail that I wanted to make sure I got in this album. I would go ahead and just put it in here. So another reason that I like to keep a staging binder, besides just helping keep myself organized, is that I can pick up this binder if I need to go to a crop and know that I have a project that's ready to go. So I can just grab this. I can grab a small kit of supplies, maybe a paper pack, a collection pack that I've purchased, and head right out the door and know that I have enough to work on to keep me busy for an evening. I also keep a tool tote. It's actually the same tote. I have it over here that I keep next to my desk, and it's loaded up with all my supplies that I use and all my tools that I use on a regular basis. So my binder, supplies, and this are all I need to go and crop for an evening. And I have done that many, many times. So I think it's time that we get on with the scrapping in this, and I don't know why I have waited so long to scrapbook these photos. They're from way back in September from a trip to the state fair that I took with my family, and I have been really wanting to use October Afternoon's Midway collection with these. So I'm going to go gather up that collection and some other supplies that coordinate with it and come back, and we will get down to scrapping a layout. So we're ready to scrapbook now, and I have got my 2 Design A page protectors laid out and ready to go. Whenever I scrapbook a Project Life layout, I tend to design the pockets and lay things out on top of the page protector. It just helps me keep things organized. It helps me to know where I'm filling in spots and see if things look balanced and all that good jazz. I've got my photos. I went ahead and trimmed them up. I didn't think you would mind me editing that step out. And I have stacked them in order from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. I'm not really strict about that, but I do like to, in general, have my photos flow from the beginning of the week to the end. Obviously, since I don't do a photo a day, I don't have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday through the end of the week laid out like that. I just kind of lay them in general out in order across the page, and then may move a few things up and down around different corners, just if it needs to look a little bit more balanced. I have This sheet, which I'm pretty much done with now, I more or less only use it to help me keep track of the date and also what photos got in what pocket, and since all of these pockets seem to have just one photo, I don't even need that. The memorabilia, like I said, most of the time it lives in the page protector between the two spreads, so it can just get tossed to the side too. I'm just going to toss it back here behind me and talk for a little bit about supplies. I said I wanted to work with October Afternoon's Midway collection for this, and whenever I start on a Project Life layout or any layout, I tend to pull out way more supplies than I will actually use. I like kind of having everything at my fingertips, not having to dig through baskets and bins to try to find it all. So I pulled out all the embellishments that I had. I love their journaling cards, especially for Project Life, of course. And all these little bits, like their doodads and their tin pins. I thought I had their tidbits here somewhere, but I can't find it. Are great. Some of the more bulky embellishments, like brads and buttons, and their chipboard, might not be perfect for everyone's Project Life, especially if you don't want it getting very bulky. Like I've said, I don't really mind that, so I go ahead and pull it out as is. There are some great papers in this line. I love this bokeh print, and there are also a couple of cut-apart sheets. This one is borders, and this one is just all kinds of fun cut-apart elements that you can use. You know, you could either scrapbook on this page, but what I would more likely do is cut each apart and use it as an embellishment on my page. You can cut these tickets apart and use as border strips, and of course there are all kinds of other lovely patterns in here. I think this Ferris wheel one might be my favorite, but I love geometrics like this anyway. So there are also some great B-sides to all of these, although I might not use this one since it might get confused with the other pictures of people in my album, but I do love this star background. So those are the 12 by 12 papers, but I wanted to go back and look at this cut-apart sheet that I pointed out that I have lost in here somewhere. There it is. And point out that most of these are going to either completely fill or almost completely fill or be even bigger than a 4x6 pocket. So these might not be the best option for Project Life. What I do like are the smaller paper pads that a lot of companies offer. A lot of them are in 6x6 size. October Afternoon does an 8x8, which is kind of a cool size for Project Life because you can cut this way and get two 4x6s out of it, or you can cut it again this way after that and get four 3x4s to fill 4 pockets, or you can do some combination and get two 3x4s and one 4x6 out of the same. And since they are double-sided, you could cut 4 3x4 pockets and use 2 of each of the different sides on here and kind of really get a good variety on your layout, and with that just that one sheet of paper. The other great thing about this is these cut-apart sheets are sized down quite a bit. So now these are much more useful, especially like maybe this Polaroid. Some of these smaller ones are much more useful now for Project Life because they're going to fit inside of these little pockets. Label stickers are always a good option for Project Life, especially these that are nice and blank and have a good area to write inside. These banners from the Midway collection are meant to be sewn together, but since they're not pre-sewn, you also have the option of using, say, one of these pie charts by itself, or just 1 or 2 pennants by itself, and I often find that a small pennant in the corner of a Project Life pocket is a great little embellishment. The Mini Market Alphas are wonderful for using if you want to add little subtitles, and also their washi tape. These are the 2 washi tapes from Midway. This one has some adorable speech bubbles on it. Let me see if I can find the end of that and pull it out for you. And this one lets you have a little bit of a journaling option with it as well. You pull it out. You can do location, the date, all kinds of great stuff on this. You can use just one part of it. You could stretch it across there and note several things. So it's a really nice option. I went ahead and pulled out this little shipping tag that I had wrapped out a couple of pieces of washi on because this is how I organize my washi tapes. If I have, say, these 2 that go with the Midway collection, these are a little bit bulky to go in my embellishment baskets. So I have another holder just for washi tape. But I go ahead and I take a couple of tiny strips and I put it on one of these really cheap shipping tags and keep that with the paper collection to remind me, oh yeah, I have washi tape. It's a good thing I did, because as I was pulling out the Midway collection, I probably would have completely forgotten that I also had the washi tapes that went with it. And like I said, also the buttons, if you like some bulkier embellishments. Now, I like to mix collections a lot when I scrapbook, so I didn't just pull out Midway, and this is where you're going to see that I really did pull out a whole lot more supplies than I really needed, because I also pulled these items out. There are some things that I use constantly in project life. Small embellishments like wood veneers are great. These aren't terribly bulky. They will add some dimension. Let me pull one or two of these out so you can see a profile. These are adorable little cameras. I love them. But they're not very thick, but they will add some dimension to your album. Journaling cards are also a must. I am addicted right now to these little snap pads from Simple Stories. And you can see that I've been using them so much that they're starting to fall apart. I'll probably go through soon and go ahead and just pull all of these out, file them away in some Project Life organization. I'm working on a new supply organization scheme that I may be able to share with you later, but I need to get it together first. Pebbles. Oh, wait. Before we get to Pebbles, let's look at these other snap pads. Those were the 3x4. These are the 4x6 versions. And you can see this one has all the months in several different formats. A couple of them have, this one apparently I have not used yet. This one has a lot of just sayings and full 4x6 titles, so if you find yourself with some empty pockets, maybe not many photos for a week, you can just put one of these in there. It's a great decoration. The back of all of these is also just a plain pattern paper, so if you don't care for the one side of it, you can flip it over and have a nice pattern that's useful for just about anything. And this is the final one of those snap pads. This one is a more vertical, well, and there are some horizontal 4x6s as well. This one is more geared toward journaling and has a lot of great open spots to do a lot of writing with a little bit of decoration added in. Pebbles also makes some great journaling pads. This one is from their, what is it from? This is from the Seen and Noted collection. And it has a mix of 4x6 and 3x4. So the ones that are like this, you can cut apart and have 2 3x4 items that would fill these pockets. And as you can see, this one's falling apart as well. I've used it so much. In fact, I think I went ahead and just took it apart because I was using it so much. This is a 4x6, and there are several of those as well. Some of them have rounded corners, and there's one or two in here that actually have some nice scalloped edge to them too. So that is another option. There's a scalloped edge one for journaling cards. For more label stickers, I'm going back to that Snap collection. These all come in one pack. It's an incredible value. I think it's $5. They're sold out right now in the store. I'm hoping they're going to get some more in because I'd like to order another pack myself. There are labels in every color that is in the Simple Stories Snap color scheme, along with some multicolors. And these are great for mixing with different collections that you want to use. I think for this one, mostly the pink and the aqua and the orange are going to work in, but I'm going to keep them all together just in case. Again, I've pulled some more washi tape. This is from My Mind's Eye, The Sweetest Thing. And like I said, I just had these wrapped on cards, stuck in with the embellishments for the collection. So I'll know to go pull these out if I decide I want to use one of these washi tapes. And I thought that these two colorways, especially this one, the tangerine from the Sweetest Thing collection by My Mind's Eye, would be a good match if I needed some little label stickers or some chipboard items or anything like that, some brads. This is the tangerine line, and also these brads from the honey line, all part of the Sweetest Thing. And like I said, I have pulled out way more supplies than I'm probably going to use. But I like having them all right over here to the side so that I can paw through them as I'm looking for something to embellish with.